back. The time is now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to NUFC Talk. We are live with Eddie Howe's live presser of the weekend. Brentford game ahead of us. So we got the presser, ladies and gentlemen, to do. We'll see what the questions are. We'll see what Eddie Howe will be asked about this particular game. We got the morning guys with us to participate on the presser. We also got Mighty Win and Gary, of course, and everyone out there watching in the chat. Good morning, everyone. How's it going?
Good morning. What a five-a-side this lot is.
I know, man. We got a lot of folks.
He decides to turn back up again. He's gone missing as usual.
Technical issues, first thing, as we always do. Here he is. Can you hear us now, Sam?
Anyways, you guys, Sam? For some reason, he's got internet.
Yeah, I can hear you, Sammy.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. You don't want to message your mic. We can hear you. I have to mute him, though. Anyway, it is what it is, isn't it? Not gonna lie, I'm afraid Sunderland have been cooking lately. Well, that's the truth anyway. But we're just gonna have to get over the truth and do our end of the bargain, I guess you can say.
Guys, I can't hear you actually.
Yeah,
we can hear you now, boy.
Yeah, it might be because he's on his phone. I don't know. I guess in the mornings it doesn't work. It works fine, but Sam, oh no, he's another happy clapper, man. It seems like. But shout out to everyone out there. Eddie Howe is supposed to be coming up at any moment given time now. So, anyways, lads, all good.
Be asked. What's he
all good?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a must-win game, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So
we need. Go on, guys.
Well, I think you know I was listening to you guys last night, and then I was doing some not research, but just looking at what all the news is out there, and obviously you guys were breaking a lot of the news that had come out from Craig Hope, and you know people was talking about Tonali's obviously truth, if you like, about him, you know, not really committing himself fully to the cause, and then, you know, you talk about what's happening with Anthony Gordon. So there's lots of individual noise out there about Newcastle, as always. But the one thing that really has seemed to hit the bell is not so much the truth coming out of our captain with his illness until post West Ham game. And I think that is going to be probably part of the conversation that we'll hear from the journos today, because it seems as though there's a lot of there's a lot of disgruntlement in the social world, if you like, about the way it was dealt with, and the fact that Bruno put us under a little bit of jeopardy, if you like, by not being truthful and playing himself. Now, listen, you know, I totally love the fact that this lad wears his heart on his sleeve and he wears the colours through his blood, but sometimes you do have to hold your hand up when you're not fully at it, especially being the captain as well, and say, you know, I may need to sit this one out or put me on the bench. You know, if you need to play me later on because I'm not 100%. And that seems to be the one that's bubbling around at the minute.
And there was some very good comment all over the place yesterday regarding Tonali, because Tonali, and I'm not talking about the you know, the contract business. I'm saying he said to Eddie before the Benfica game that he wasn't feeling 100%.
Yeah.
So we played without him, and we did okay. So he was then arrested for the what was the game before that? Forest? Sorry, it was the other way around. It was Forest and then Benfica. And so Eddie, because he told Eddie that he was, that he wasn't 100% fit, said, right, switch around, which is what they did. And we've got 2 good results. And it just goes to show if you've got one player on the team who isn't 100%. So the question we were asking last night was, was Eddie aware that he wasn't 100%? And apparently he'd said to Eddie he was absolutely 100% fit to go before the game, and yet after
who are you
the
talking
game,
about?
this is Bruno now. After the game, he was talking to.
Who's apparently? Who told you this?
What do you mean? Who told us this? Eddie told.
You're saying apparently he told Howe that he was ready to play.
He told Eddie he was 100% before the game.
How do you know this?
Because Eddie said he did.
I never heard Eddie say that, but okay. I do the post match comments and presser. So I mean,
in the after he does the TV presser, he does a one for the press.
Right.
And which the Geordie journos and Craig Hope have access to. And
there's a post-match press conference. There's only one post-match press conference. So, but yeah.
No, that's one that he does for the TV that you show. That we
press conference is sitting down on the press box. There's only one. So, I listen. Either way, semantics. But okay, I didn't watch that one, so there you go. I guess he said that.
So he said Bruno told me he was 100% to go, and then yet after the match, Bruno was talking to the journos and saying he felt like he was playing with a.
Yeah, just our screens are black.
Yeah, all our screens are black.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. We're there. We're back.
I don't know what was going on there. Old F Mux, man. You can live with, live without.
Well, let's put that.
But anyway, Darren, here we're back.
Yeah, let's put this one on. Darren Caesar, thanks for the super sticker, mate. Yeah, superb, mate. Welcome for on board. Haven't seen your name before, actually.
I think it's Casa, actually.
Is it Casa? Yeah, Sasa or Casa, one of the two. Apologies for the pronunciation, but welcome on board, lad.
Cheers. And where are we at?
Well, we're talking about Bruno, weren't we?
Yeah, I know that, but I mean, what's the? I mean, there's a rumor that after that horrible performance, but even Eddie Howe said that he can't blame that on the illness. So, I mean,
I think the issue is more or less Bruno not declaring how bad his illness was, saying that he was 100% fit to play when it was.
By the way, clearly after the game, after the game on Wednesday, there was a clip of Bruno walking out, and he just got a cough attack, and he just starts coughing and coughing and coughing. So you could tell there was a bug in that regard, and not a stomach bug or anything like that. So, but I mean, yeah, but I mean it's Wednesday, so it's what my main concern is Gordon. How does Gordon pass the signal test if he doesn't make it halftime?
Yeah, well, I think this is another niggle, if you like, and again, I suppose it's something that maybe needed to be questioned, because why are we playing players that aren't fit? You know, we've got apparently, and again, you know, you can only listen to what's out there. Asula was on the bench with this ankle injury. You know, we've not got 100% Lewis Hall, who's been on the bench for a couple of games now, then only appeared briefly. Against Athletic Club and looked fantastic, to be fair. Then you've got the Anthony Gordon, you know, the hip injury that apparently he's been carrying now for some time. So you have to question, what the heck are you doing playing players? If it's true, they're injured.
What's happened to Steve Bunce?
Yeah.
Well, I have this issue, man, with when they play bad, all of a sudden they're carrying something for a long time. You know, that they want us to believe. I don't believe none of that crap. They're just playing bad.
But you've also got to take into consideration, though, Chris, that the fact that this has happened before. This isn't a new thing. You know, this is an Eddie Howe trait. This is now. It seems to be part of his mantra. That again, it's about, have you got enough trust in the players that you've now brought into this squad to go and perform in place of a player that's 80% fit? Because if you haven't, then why the hell have you spent all that money on them?
Well,
100%. And even
go on, Corey.
Even with the Anthony Gordon thing, it was news with the hip injury before going into the West Ham game. Obviously got hooked at half time. And then, you know, after that game, there's obviously going to be more knowledge how bad that hip's probably going to be. So it's very confusing to me how he managed starting the game after that. So, yeah, it's a bit weird at the moment, especially considering all of our squad depth. A lot of our fans, myself included, saying this is probably the strongest squad depth we've had in a long, long time. And like Gary said, I don't know why we're choosing to play injured players who aren't 100% when, you know, we've got this supposed squad depth just sitting on the bench.
Even then, you're talking about sitting on the bench. Asula was, you know, registered and everything to be on the bench on Wednesday, and he was pulled off at the last minute because of his ankle injury.
Which apparently he was struggling with all through training. So why was he even included?
Which apparently is why Thompson ended up on the bench and Howe had two keepers on the bench, which blew my fucking mind.
Blew your what? Blew
mind.
Blew your frock up. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, but I think the focus on the press conference today, I think obviously there's going to be a lot of questions about the Bruno, but then I think, you know, we've seen how some of these journalists are. They're going to want a title. I think there's going to be, mark my words, I reckon about 30% of this press conference is going to be about Tonali, if not more. So I'm expecting to see a lot of that today and probably a lot of frustrating questions that we're not going to get real answers to at that either.
The away form as well, I think, is going to be a big one, isn't it? You know,
that's the biggest thing, really. The game on the weekend. You know, if we perform or not, if we win, basically, I don't think anything but a win is going to be satisfying to anybody. So it's going to be hard. I mean, but that is where the club or the team has put themselves into, and they have to deal with it. You know, that's the predicament that they put themselves into. So.
Shane Smith has put something in there, and I suppose we need to not address it, because you're absolutely right, Shane. I mean, we've been crying out for some of the youngsters from the under-21s to come and step up into the first team when there's an opportunity to get that experience. And you're absolutely right. We're not in any way blaming Max for jumping in board, but according to the rules, he was the only one that could jump on to the bench. Our concern is the fact that Asula, struggling during training, struggling in the warm-up, and yet he's still allowed to be on the bench with an ankle injury. Why don't you just pull out short Neve or something like that from the 21s and say, we need another striker. So we'll pull Neve out, or even Bryson, who's, very raw, and bring him onto the bench. Because to me, that's what your under 21s are there for. They are to supplement your first team on the bench to gain that experience, but also, when required, come and get 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of. I guess that kind of asks the question: does Eddie think that maybe the quality in the youth academy isn't up to standard? Because, like you're saying there, Gary, if we're going to choose to play injured players on the bench rather than the academy players, it's pretty evident that Eddie Hearn doesn't have much trust in him or doesn't really think that the quality's there.
I think we got the news last week, didn't we, that Ross Wilson has spent the last 10 days virtually looking at nothing but the academy.
Well, we've just signed that young lad, haven't we? The one that is Josh Kenchington. He's just literally put pen to paper. He's the highly rated England youth centre back. Comes with a lot of big background, if you like. A lot of players, a lot of teams from the Big Six was looking at this guy in an attempt to sign him, and he's joined us. So again, that means we are selling the project. We are moving these youngsters in. The problem is we've heard so much about our highly rated youngsters, and we were talking about Alfie Harrison last night. Coming, big prospect, £3 million signing. Are we taking the talent away from them? Because we're talking now in January, some of these guys that we've brought in are on the way out. So
it shouldn't take that long, really. And if they're not talented enough to be on the to make any of them, not one, trying to make them push the first team, then we're not doing our job at recruiting. So, somewhere we're not doing our job. So we'll see. But Eddie Howe should be coming up.
I was saying yesterday, the football academies these days are not about developing players for the first team. They're basically footballer factories. We bought him for $3 million. If we can put 2 years into him and sell him for $10 million to a team way below Premiership level,
but you're not going to. So, you're not even doing that. So what's the point? Thanks, Shane. Appreciate it. You're not even doing that. Celebrating 10 months membership. Appreciate it. Valverde putting kids on even when losing. Well, I wouldn't put Valverde as an example, to be honest, because he's knackered. He's mid-table in La Liga, not doing too well, criticized. But young players should have a space anyway. And we do got young players, to be honest, but already Lewis Hall, Lewis Miley, and them. But the fact that not
Lewis Hall didn't come through our academy, and Lewis Miley, let's be honest,
but Lewis Hall was more like
only made the breakthrough because we were absolutely decimated.
Yeah, well, that's Eddie Howe's. That's Eddie Howe's.
No, it's because the juniors are not good enough.
Yeah. But Lewis Miley was good enough. So what are you talking about? Lewis Hall came in. We loaned him, but he came in as Alfie Harrison. Nobody knew him. So
and he had Alfie Harrison's on his bike again.
Well, that's the rumor. We don't know whether it's true or not. I mean, like I say,
on his bike 2 years ago now, man.
I think the biggest problem is, from what I've seen so far of Alfie Harrison, I don't think, again, it's a really good example is Elanga. Certain players will not suit the style of play that Eddie Howe is trying to project. So it's not the players' fault. It's just the fact that the style of football that they are really good at just doesn't come to show and come to form when it comes to Eddie Howe's style of play.
Well,
let's do sensible monikers, mate. Tonali's comments will probably be raised today, but I think he has said he was sensible. He's committed to us for the near future, and that's fine. Absolutely, buddy. Thanks for the £5.
Yeah.
Eddie's in the building.
Eddie should be coming up at any moment given time now. So there you go.
Seems a bit late today.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a few minutes. They're never with time. I know that. But I was turning around in bed at 1 a.m. I like woke up kind of, and the first thing that came to my mind was Ilanga. As crazy as it sounds. Yeah, I just
What a
rolled
horrible way to wake
I'm
up in
gonna
the morning.
say, yeah, exactly.
I didn't wake up, but I was like one of those, where you actually start thinking again, and
You're
before you
having
go
a
back.
nightmare.
No, not a nightmare.
Bit like
And
Ilanga.
basically, I was rolling over, and then Ilanga came to mind, and then I just the realization that I've been trying to avoid is it could be that I was thinking of just admitting that I was completely wrong and thinking that Ilanga is going to be a flop. Because I actually liked the signing in the beginning, but I'm thinking
I like the saying. I still think there's plenty hope for Ilanga once we get Wissa back. I think
So do I. I think
that's because he wouldn't be playing.
we may
About,
get two players back for the price of one.
Nah, man, get out of here, man. That's because
I-
he wouldn't be playing.
I questioned Alanga when we were linked with him.
We did, yeah.
And like I said, I'm not going to say too much because I was told I was talking rubbish. So I'm going to keep shut. But you know what, Phil, D, I totally agree, mate. Apparently, Cordero is coming back from his loan spell because apparently he's just not getting involved in any games. So, and again, Sue Park has impressed in his last couple of games. So again, no real reasons why these kids can't be at least on the bench. The only problem is Cordero and Tupac play a similar position. So you can only have one or the other.
Yeah, well, but it's a good problem to have. So, and see who can do. Anyhow, should be coming now, folks, pretty soon. So stay tuned. Smash the like buttons. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Become a member if you can. Enjoy it tonight. We got the Friday Neat Show at 2 p.m. 8 p.m. UK. And yeah, join us for some banter, some music, some good old stories. And
Craig Hope is saying now that Anthony Gordon
jokes.
is doubtful for the game against Brentford.
Yeah, they usually get they obviously they have they're right there, so we have a kind of a delay, but he'll come.
Okay.
He'll come.
Interesting one from Jake and Ryan there. Newcastle Academy under 21s need some homegrown who want to wear the black and white shirt and not just a stepping stone, to be honest, and coaching staff haven't lived up to their expectations. I mean, there has been some comings and goings of coaches, head coaches especially, in the under 21s. That can also cause a lot of issues regarding settled players. I mean, we've seen, like I say, Alfie Harrison play right wing defence, as in a 6, playing as an 8. He's been all over the shop. And I think that also causes some issues. But again, are the likes of some of these lads that have come out, and obviously we know Shahar, he's from Wolverhampton, the town where literally next to where I grew up, if you like. And he loves Newcastle, but are they bringing players in from across the UK as a stepping stone? And as Wynne was saying last night, are we utilising it as a cash cow? Just looking at players that we can bring in, not going to be good enough for the first team, but we can get some cash for them once they reach that big, number.
But again, we're not even doing that. So, I mean,
well, not yet. But you've got to bear in mind that pre the takeover.
Man, you telling me a kid that we signed 5 years ago, we still can't sell him? Come on, man.
What I'm telling you is that the kid we signed 5 years ago was probably bottom of the barrel that we're ever going to be taking on as kids, because if he wasn't, he would have been snapped.
Okay, what about 3 years ago?
What about 3 years
ago? What about 3 years ago?
We're talking here, Chris, about 14 and 16-year-olds, even 10-year-olds that we're bringing in.
Where's Pivas? Where's all them players that we bought? And we mentioned Alfie Harrison from Man City. And the only one that we bought and worked out has been Lewis Hall.
Well, no, Minty were bought.
Minty didn't work out, man.
Well, we got 40 million for him. I think that's working out.
No, we didn't, because we didn't make anything of it. What are you on about? We
Yeah,
had
we
to
did.
buy Black Ademas. What are you talking about, man?
I'm talking about Minty, who went to Brighton for 40 million.
Oh, okay, yeah. Brighton, Lewis Hall, that we sold or kept. You talking 2 players, man. What are you talking about, man? It's a joke. The
Well,
academy,
what
so.
the academy is a joke, yeah, and has been for 30 years. And it's not good. It's not going to turn into Man City or Chelsea's academy overnight. It's going to take time, lots of time.
At some
That
point, it should.
is that is um,
Hello?
Connor, you're absolutely spot on. Have we got an issue here? And like I say, this is a really good point, actually. You know, when we said there was some type of situation between Eddie Howe and Mitchell, a lot of the players that have been signed for the young uns are Mitchell signings. Is there an issue regarding, I ain't going to give Mitchell any limelight here by bringing some of these potential stars into the first team? I'm not saying that's true, but that is a really good point, Connor. Yeah, well done, mate, for highlighting that one. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't know what's mentally in people's minds, do you?
Yeah, but on that basis, then Cordero was Mitchell's last signing.
Yeah.
Now he's gone to the Belgian league, and the Belgian league side, who've got nothing to do with Eddie Howe's philosophies or way of thinking,
Yeah,
Westerlo, do not think he's good enough to play for them.
So why did they loan him?
That's not just Eddie Howe not playing Cordero because he's a Mitchell signing. That's somebody completely away from the situation who's saying this kid is not. Surely, if you've got a wonder kid that he was supposed to be, why would the Westerlo manager not want to have
Well,
that wonder kid in his side?
he doesn't have to be a wonder kid, man. He's somebody that we bought, and he clearly loaned him out because he didn't want him. Eddie Howe must have said, I'm not gonna keep him in my. How can you tell? We signed him. He came here, and we loaned him out before he even touched Newcastle.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that notion that we saw and he wasn't good enough is absolutely rubbish. Because how could you see that he wasn't good enough?
Well, because he's been in training.
Get out of here, man. Are you gonna tell me that he's not good enough to be even in training? What I'm saying
is that when he was in training amongst his peers,
no.
He didn't show sufficient, class for whatever talent, whatever.
By the way, we're late now, really late.
We are really late, and there's nothing coming through at all.
And he's definitely started because I'm getting all the quotes.
Yeah, he's definitely started, but we don't have the
feed.
This first time in a long time, really, that this has happened. So nothing we can do but just wait and see. When Eddie comes up, I'm just gonna check on my phone and see if the presser is on there, maybe. But I highly doubt it. So we're just waiting, just like you guys are, folks. So stay tuned. Eddie Howe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, well, actually, it's not Eddie Howe. We're gonna blame Eddie Howe on this too. He's clearly there on time, but it's the media people.
Give you a few spoilers if you want, but
it's that. Well, listen.
Well, we're going to have to because, like I say, we've already missed the start.
Or we can just role play our own.
We want to watch. Yeah, we want to watch the whole thing from the start. So, but well, it depends. Whatever they give us, really, we don't even know. They might give us the end. Somebody didn't press the transition button. You see, they think. They think we're on, but they didn't press the transition button. So I tell you what,
to tell you what the problem is, mate, is they realise we're getting more coverage than they are.
We're being blacklisted from the site, lads.
Well, there we go. Now we got.
Hey! Woo! Better late than never.
I can tell I'm on one ear also, so the audio is already going to be a little jacked up. But anyway.
Good morning. Morning, everyone. Welcome
back. Hello. Morning, Lee. Hello, Luke. Good to see you. Just to mention, we'll add Sundays in the end again, so if you can just bear that in mind. If you can keep your questions in this bit to single questions, that would be very helpful. We'll start with Razor, please.
Don't know why I'm laughing. Good morning. Can we just check on, firstly, Anthony Gordon after he was substituted the other night? How is he? I think you said it might be a recurrence of the hip problem he's had.
Yeah, we don't think it's a serious injury, but we're going to get him scanned and we're awaiting the results.
So that sounds like he won't be available on Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's every chance he might miss out on Sunday, but we give him every opportunity to be fit.
And what about William Osula, because he was withdrawn from the squad the other night, and it sounded like when you spoke after the game that maybe he could be due a period on the sidelines as well while you get the ankle right?
Yeah, it's something that he's been feeling for a little bit, but he's been functional. He's been able to train and play. But it was getting to the stage where it was, I think, affecting him a little bit more latterly. And we had a scan. We were awaiting the scan results, sort of tied in with the game. And the scan just told us to pull back a little bit. So he'll have a period of rest. But again, it's not a serious injury. We expect him to be weeks, not any longer.
You've answered lots of questions recently about Johan Wissa, and we haven't seen him yet in a matchday squad. What is the latest with him and his move towards full fitness?
Yeah, Johan's working well. He's on the grass. He's building his fitness. I think the knee's feeling good. No problems with that. It's more a case of looking at his fitness, sharpness. All the things that he's going to need to put together. He's in a good place injury-wise now to really kick on and push his body. But we're going to need to give him time to get fit and robust enough, and in the position where he can give his best version of himself for the team. So how long that takes is slightly unclear, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be worth the wait.
There's another international break, obviously, after this weekend. That'll be the third this season already. A lot of fans don't like the regular interruptions to the domestic programme. How do you feel about it? Perhaps because it's been so hectic for you, you could maybe welcome the break. Yeah,
I think we've probably got a different viewpoint this season more than any other, because our schedule's been relentless, and it's almost, you look at these breaks as a time just to breathe, really, for the players. Not so much for the international players, of course, because their work doesn't stop. But I think for everybody else, it's a chance just to settle down and then look at the next block of games, which is, we said this period's been tough, but the next block's even harder for us, because November, December are very, very busy, and January, incredibly busy months for us. So, yeah, I think generally if we were playing one game a week, it would feel very stop-start, I think. So I can sort of have sympathy with everybody else.
And Brentford, last season, you probably don't need reminding how disappointing it was, the result and the performance, particularly after what happened at West Ham. When you go back to Brentford, you'll be determined to avoid a repeat of anything you saw there almost 12 months ago. Yeah,
it was a tough day. It was a tough game. I think Brentford, I know we've had some good results there. I think it's always a difficult place to go. I think certainly with their style of play this year, I think they've been very efficient, very effective at what they do. I mean, it's going to be a tough examination of our mentality and our ability to defend. So yeah, I see this game as a great opportunity rather than anything else to showcase that we can deliver away from home. I think that's how we have to look at it. We know there's pressure on us. We know our away form's not been good enough, but we're determined to try and put that right.
Thanks, Razor. Keith?
Eddie, the England squad announced, I think, within the next hour. Obviously, don't know whether Anthony will be in it or not. How do you feel regarding that and his injury, and basically when he's back? Is there a chance he could be involved for England?
Relaxed about that, Keith. To be honest, it'll all be done with, England's blessing in terms of whether he's fit or not fit. We'll work together with them to try and find the right solution for Anthony.
And on Johan, you said there that you hope or think it's going to be worth the wait. Has the wait been a frustration for you?
Injuries are part and parcel of football, especially with the schedule that we've had. The only frustration with this injury is the fact that he wasn't. Well, we haven't seen him. He wasn't with us when he did it. So that's been difficult because the transfer was very much with the sight of trying to help us in the here and now. No fault of Johan's. It's just part and parcel of the game that we're in, especially with international players when they travel away. But we need him. Desperately want to see him fit. But I think the big thing from this injury is, as I said earlier, when he comes back, that he's ready to hit the ground running and be at his very best levels. In
midweek, at his press conference, at Dan Burns' press conference ahead of the game, he said it'll be a frustration for him if the team come out all guns blazing and win well, like you did against that Athletic club during the week. Can you see what he means by that he was frustrated that the team came out and won, given the performance against West Ham on the Sunday? But then he countered that by saying, against Brentford on Sunday, he said, those are the games where we earn our money.
Yeah, I think everyone shares that frustration. I don't think it's just the players, it's the coaching staff, it's everybody, because we know what we're capable of, we know what we can deliver. West Ham was a long way short of that, and we take responsibility for that. But we needed to make sure that we did respond. I think that there was a danger on Wednesday that, a lot of talk about home form being very good and our away form not so good. That then your home form can be affected. But I think it was a really strong, disciplined performance. We did what we needed to do. The only way we can answer our critics away from home is to deliver. And that's why I said I see this game as an opportunity to do that. And I know the players will be motivated to showcase that we can.
A lot of supporters happy during the week to see Lewis Hall back, and he looked fit and he looked sharp. Is he close to a return to the starting lineup?
Well, he's closer, definitely. I think it was a really good cameo from Lou. I think we have to remember he's had very, very limited training time, so I have to be careful with him. But of course, he's very much in my thoughts because of the quality of player that he is. But he's had a difficult period in the last few months. He obviously had a serious injury. The hamstring that he suffered this time wasn't serious, but it was enough to keep him out of action for a period of time. So he's such an important player. We need him fit for the long term.
And just finally for me, Sandro spoke after the match the other night, the first time he's really spoken about his contractual situation, that extension that you guys agreed a year or so ago. He said he didn't want to make any promises that he'll be here in 10 years' time, but he's taking it. It was real honesty from him. Are you comfortable with that?
I'm always comfortable with honesty. None of us can make any massive statements about the future because life is so unpredictable, and football certainly is at the sharp end of that. It's so unpredictable. So I think Sandro's been very, very honest. He's happy, and I think that's the key thing when he said he's enjoying his football. And when I see him every day, I see a player that is happy and feels fulfilled, happy in the team that he's in, happy with his teammates, happy with the environment. He loves it here in Newcastle. So our challenge is to keep providing him that environment, and of course, his job is to keep playing well, and he's certainly been impressive this season.
Thank you. Andy?
Come on, Eddie. This Brentford fixture was a fixture last year. I remember you said that it kind of acted as a catalyst for Newcastle to build momentum after it. Do you feel like the West Ham result could also act as a bit of a catalyst going forward?
Well, I think that's how we have to try and look at that game. There's no looking at that game any other way, because then it becomes just a very disappointing memory. But you can actually look at those games as positives in the future if you respond and learn from the game and take all the lessons that we learnt from it and take it forward. That's what we did after the Brentford game, and it was, as I say, I look back at that game as a positive now because of what happened afterwards, and it rejuvenated our season, kicked us into gear. And we need to look at that West Ham defeat in exactly the same way. But that's not a given. That comes down really to the feeling and harnessing the feeling that we got from the game and using it as a fuel to motivate us in training, motivate our detail, and do everything we can now in our preparation for the future games to make sure we're at our best.
On another note entirely, it's been described as bend it like Burns. Some fans are calling it to be in the Puskas Awards contention. Dan was even obviously recreating it on the sideline when he was subbed. What's your reaction a few days on to that header from Dan Burn on the week?
Yeah, it gets better. It gets better when I see it, I think. And I had the privilege of being right behind it, so I could see almost when he headed it, I thought, that's in. It's special moments for Dan. I mean, I think he appreciates those things more than anybody in the squad because of his association with the club. But the headers that he's delivered, I don't quite know where he stores them, because he doesn't do that on a regular basis. But when he does, they're certainly worth the wait.
Just finally, I know you've fielded a lot of questions about Johan Wissa, but away from kind of his injury recovery, obviously he's a new player to the club, being injured, frustrating time for him. How pleased have you been, though, with how clearly he's settled within the squad? He seems to have built up friendships within the squad, which I imagine is quite difficult for a player to do when they're joining a new club anyway, regardless of whether they're injured for a long period.
Well, it is. I mean, I've got a lot of sympathy with Johan, because I've been in a very similar position. I joined Portsmouth and played very minimal minutes and then got injured straight away. And I never felt totally integrated into the squad, because when you're injured, you're not purposely excluded, but you're in a different place. And I spent 2 years trying to get fit. Hopefully, Johan will have a lot shorter time than that. But I think he's done really well, actually, because you can see his natural personalities come out. He has built some really strong friendships already. And I think you can see he's an experienced player, and he's got that experience side of his characters come out as well, because he's not fazed by anything. He's joining in. And as I say, when he's fit and firing, I think he'll provide a lot for the squad.
Thanks, Andy. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie. First of all, I just wanted to check, has the illness in the camp, has that now subsided completely? Are they all healthy?
Looks like it's gone on my throat. No, I think we're okay. Yeah, I think we're... Yeah, I don't think there's any... As far as I know, I haven't seen everybody today, but so far so good.
How do you think the team is adapting to Nick Voltemade? As we've said before, very different player to Alexander Isak, drops deep a lot because he wants the ball at his feet. How do you think the team is adapting to that?
Yeah, I think we're in the process of doing that. I don't think we're functioning at our best level. That's not dependent on Nick. Nick's one player in the machine. I still think we're finding our best way to use him. We're finding our best form individually throughout the team. So I'm very happy with Nick. I'm very happy with his application. I'm very happy with his ability to carry out instructions. I'm very happy with, of course, the goals that he scored. So I think he individually has done very well. I think us as a team, we've still got to mould and find our best way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Damien?
Morning, Eddie. Just going back to Sandro, in terms of keeping him happy, is part of that him continuing to believe that he can fulfil his ambitions as a Newcastle player?
I don't think it got to be clear. I don't think it's our job to necessarily keep any player happy in terms of where we finish in the league. The players themselves, me included, have to find a way to be successful with the team that we have. But I think off the pitch and in the environment, that's where we have to provide the environment that all the players enjoy and they want to be part of. And with a team spirit, that's an incredible thing to be around. So I hope you sort of see the difference between the two things. The players themselves have to find, again, together with me and all the coaching staff, we have to find a way to be successful. But I think that clear difference, I think, is really important.
Thank you. We've got Chris, Lee, and then Luke, please.
Morning, Eddie. War Flags confirmed the other day the reason why that the tunes before the game have been changed, that local heroes not being played, and Blade Races have been flipped, and they said that was partly to do with the players and the coaching staff and that wanting to hear fans. Can you just explain the sort of thinking there and the sort of how that came about, really?
I can. I can give you what I know. I'm not directly involved in those discussions, especially with the schedule that we have. I've been putting all my focus on the team, but I know there has been discussions to the pre-match sort of environment and making sure that it's the best it can be, and we're constantly evaluating that to try and make sure it's the best experience, not just for the supporters but for the players. So I think there was a few tweaks made. Obviously I'm not out there at that moment, so I'm not really the best person to judge whether that's a success or not. I know there's been a few tweaks. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the changes.
Thank you. Lee?
Eddie, how do you sort of explain the narrative this season? You've obviously won actually 7 games from the last 10, but there's this sort of continuing narrative about not being able to transfer from competitions. Just I wondered how you saw that internally and how you're approaching it.
Yeah. If you'd have said to me you'll win before you'll win 7 of the next 10, I'd be delighted at that, because I think that's a good return. Now sat here in this position, I'm looking at the Premier League table probably like everybody else is, and that's, I think, the narrative and where it's coming from. And you're going, I'm uncomfortable with that. We've got to be trying to climb that table as quickly as possible. So I sort of share that to a degree. But I also, I'm on the inside, so I'm living every day and every moment. I also have an understanding of where the players are at. I have an understanding of our position in a sense that everything that's happened to lead us to this point. I know the players are giving everything. So I think we just need to support the guys when they're on the pitch, give them the total backing, and I know we have the quality and, most importantly, the professionalism to come back stronger.
Thank you. Luke?
Talking of narratives, there's a sort of debate at the moment that the Champions League is actually easier than the Premier League. How do you respond to that?
Well, the Premier League is, for me, in my opinion, the best league in the world. And it's the best league in the world because it's the most competitive. There's no game that in my time as a Premier League manager that has been ever taken for granted. You know, that the quality of teams is so strong and the competition is so strong. But I'd also then flip that and say the Champions League is the elite club competition in world football. It's where everyone wants to be. I think we've navigated some really difficult games in the Champions League so far really well. The Barcelona game, for me, that could have been another win for us. It was very tight and unfortunately went against us. So I think both competitions are very, very strong, and that's why this season is such a challenge for us compared to other seasons, because there is no break for us. There's no training time for us. It's relentless. Now, that's not an effort for sympathy from anyone. It's just we're having to navigate that while trying to keep the players realising that every game's so important and there can be no dip for any competition.
Kieran?
Obviously, you can show ambition in the transfer market, but after last summer, how important is it to kind of keep your best players as best you can, I guess?
Yeah, I think, of course, we want to try and keep our best players. The only way we're going to do that, as I said, all the things that I said earlier about what we deliver behind the scenes. But in a sense, the players have to show that they're these world-class players on a consistent basis as well. There's a lot of pressure on them too to make sure they're showcasing that, rather than the talk of players leaving. I don't think that's healthy for us. So we're on a journey together, and this season has yet to be clear what our destination is, and that's where we're still in the early stages. We've still got a chance for this to be a very, very special season for us.
Thanks, Kieran. Dom Skir?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Just spoke about Noah Willis, Johan Wissa, potentially Anthony Gordon for this weekend as well. How will that impact Nick Voldemort and how you manage him moving forward?
I don't think it will change anything. We don't have a lot of support for him, and that's why I think he's done very, very well, because the focus has been purely really on him, and he's had to take that in his stride, and he's done that really well. Big credit to him for that. Big credit to him for how he's performed so far. But I think he's got broad shoulders. I think he can take that, and it's up to us to protect him and look after him whenever we can. Try to withdraw him a couple of times to keep him fresh and keep his energy. Because he's obviously a big lad. He's got big limbs to move, and we need to make sure that he can take the pitch in a good way.
Thanks, Dom. Any others? Sean?
Morning, Eddie. Obviously, we were talking before about Dan Burns' header. He played really well the other night, but Lewis Hall come back as well. And I know you said earlier, like, been managing his situation and sort of his recovery from injury. Obviously, when he's sort of fully fit and he's the sort of natural, ready-made left back, where do you see Dan's best position? And if it is back at centre half, how tough is that situation going to be in terms of the competition between him, Sven, Malik, and Fabian?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one in the respect that Dan can play various positions. He's played left back for me since he's been moved there. I think he's played really well, and our results have been very good with him in that position. So I think Dan's always shown he's got the ability to play both. competition for places is still there, and it's still there throughout the team. We need to make sure that competition's being used as a positive for us within the squad, and it's continuing to be used to push the players for more.
Thank you. Charlie?
Morning, Eddie. Jacob Murphy aside, your other three wingers are yet to register a goal or assist in the Premier League this season. Has that been a concern for you? And is that possibly a reason why Nick Voltemara sometimes looked a little bit isolated up front?
Of course it's a concern for us, because we want all our attacking players to be flowing and in a really confident, good place. Our wingers historically have been very, very good in terms of numbers. So it's a slight surprise. Well, it's a big surprise that those stats are what they are. But I back them. I back all of them. I think they're very, very good players. I don't see an issue with any side of the quality of the player. But I think there's a whole host of reasons. And I think whenever you look at a pure stat, you can jump to a conclusion as to why. But I think you've got to put a bit of context around it. We've done that. We need to now help and support those players. Get back to doing what they do best. And I think if you ask them all, they'd be saying creating, assisting and scoring. So that's what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Concludes this part of the press conference.
All right. Oh, am I good? Yeah. We are back in business, ladies and gentlemen. That was the press conference. And, well, what do you guys make of that? Interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I missed most of it because I'd got two feeds coming through into my ears. So it was part and parcel of trying to get what he was saying, and then it was repeated. So I am struggling somewhat to get. So I'm just going to go and have a look at my notes to see where we are. I mean, to be fair, we knew it was going to be a conversation about, Anthony Gordon's injury, and he's saying that it's not as bad as expected. And again, you've got to ask yourself, if Anthony Gordon goes now and makes the England camp, is that going to make him lesser liked with the fans? I think it will have a massive knock on. Again, the praise was how he's managing Lewis Hall, I suppose, and it's like a case of it's been a difficult period for Lewis Hall, and it's about managing him. But again, we saw him against Athletic Club, and he looks lively, he looks hungry. He was dancing around a couple of players, and that's for me, one of the highlights is when you've got a player who's hungry for a game of football. You want to play. You want to play him. It's quite comfortable saying we're going to wrap you up in cotton wool. If he's had pre-scans on this hamstring issue and there's no longer a problem, yes, he's coming back from a serious injury, but these are the type of players that you need to start making the headlines with. And like I say, for me, it's been criminal not seeing him involved in more matches, if I'm honest with you, especially when he's been on the bench and available. So for me, I think it's got to be sooner rather than later with Lewis Hall.
Mm-hmm. So as far as Gordon's concerned, I was of the opinion on Wednesday that when he went down, he thought, this is a fantastic opportunity for me to get off. So it's going to blame the hip injury. I'm having a stinker. Let's get the hell out, get out of Dodge. And I'll take a lot of convincing that isn't the case. However, he did say that he's had a scan and they're waiting for the results from the scan, which again I find difficult to believe. I'm pretty sure that with the medical facilities that's available to the team, when you have a scan, the results are virtually there straight away, unless you can tell me different, Gary, if there's something technical that takes time. I would have thought once you get the scan, you've got the results.
Yeah. Well, I think that the problem is it's like, it's the same with the Sula. The scan has shown that there's been some, impact injury. So it's an inflammatory response on his joint. And the problem is with your ankle joint, it's such a complex situation. Now, for me, with a hip injury, you don't know whether it's a bruise or whether it's a muscle injury. Because, like I say, again,
Is that what the scan identifies?
So what you get is an inflammatory response. So you can see in the scan that you probably can't see elsewhere. There's been an impact in that area, and that's why they've said they've had to pull back on Asula. But with your hip is such a different complex area, and I think that if he's been suffering with this injury for a long time, and I'm saying a long time now because we're talking, was it? Did they say? There was. I can't think when it was. I know he's had it a couple of months now. Why have they only done a scan now?
Yeah. And by the way, Gordon is called up for England. That's official as of now. So
that's what I'm saying. So if he plays for England, mate, I'll tell you something now. He's going to go down massively with the supporters.
Well, I mean, I think that let me see. Where's my thing?
Especially
I'm
if he
really
performs.
quiet, but I'll tell you something. He went down in my estimation when he said that.
And then he choked on me coffee. Then you swine.
The bigger question is, how is Anthony Gordon even making the England squad at this point? I don't see what Tommy Tuchel is seeing in him at the moment. It baffles me.
Well, what Tommy Tuchel's seeing in Gordon is what he's done for England. And he's not taken club form into account. Patently he isn't, because he hasn't been very good at all for Newcastle. Certainly not at doing the job that he's supposed to be doing, which is assisting and scoring. And as was mentioned there, none of our wingers have got a goal or an assist in the Prem this season.
100%. Well, I said it earlier with Wiesa. I don't really want to see him. Look, I understand he's 29 years old. He's getting a little bit later on in his career, but look, we've signed him and we haven't seen him. It's going to be probably 4 to 5 months before we see him kick a ball for the club. And I don't really want to go see him go play for AFCON, to be honest. If that risks another injury, that's a major concern for me. And now it's the same sort of boat with Anthony Gordon. I think he also needs to make a decision. Is this, the best idea for him? Because, if that hip injury progresses any worse, and it's just been a shocker of a season from Gordon for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
BDB.
Hold on. Let me just because Nick Pope is called back for England. Nick Pope is back in the England squad. That's something that we need to keep a consideration for. He did speak on it on the Benfica press conference. He said that obviously it would be great for him to go back. That's what every player wants to be at, in the national team. Blah blah blah. And there you go. He gets a call up back again. I don't see Ramsdale, so
he's kicked Ramsdale out of the squad.
So Ramsdale knows next time to speak up, and so Ramsdale's not there. Dan Burn is got a call up again for England, so that's good. And Gordon is the other Newcastle United player, of course, that's there. So that's an interesting one. Yeah. Anyway, go on, talk about Dan Burn while you want to.
Well, he was on about what he was asked about what Dan Burns said on Wednesday, that it's the Brentford games. These are the days where we earn our money. That it's all very well performing in the Carabao Cup and in the Champions League.
Yeah, that's what Burns said before by VAR.
Burns said, yeah, exactly.
So why you on the just the Eddie Howe presser, man?
Well, that's what he was asked about.
Oh, okay.
He was asked about Dan Burns' comments.
Oh, okay. What did he say?
And you said absolutely right. This is our away form isn't good enough. The players know that. So he was then asked, could the West Ham result be a catalyst for the rest of the season, given that in the same circumstances last year, when we got beat off Brentford, that was when we went on to the 9-game winning run. Sorry?
And Wiesa scored against us too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he probably did,
West Ham and
I
Wembley.
know Isaac missed a sitter that would have put in front, but that's by the by. We'll not go over that old chestnut again. So yeah, what he's saying is we'll have to change. We'll have to turn around our away Premiership form, and this is a good opportunity to do so. Even though it's difficult, as he always says, that there's no easy.
Yeah, opening up the umbrella, man. Open the umbrella,
etc. And then, whilst on the subject of Burn, he was asked about the bend it like Burn goal, and he said it gets better every time I see it.
This is all a moment for you to be. You are. He's just. It's just Wynn's moment to kind of just.
Not at all. Lewis Hall, I've got to be careful. We've got to manage his time because we don't want to exacerbate any situation that's there. He was asked, saying, if you'd been told 10 games ago that you're going to win 7 games out of 10, would you have been happy? He said, well, on the face of it, you would say, yes, I would have been happy. But then when I look at the league position, I'm far from happy. And that's where we need to kick on. Because he was also then asked, could we hang on to our best players if we don't kick on up the league? And he did a bit of an Isaac recap there when Isaac was saying da Champions League, when he turned around and says, well, look, if Isaac thinks he's good enough to be playing in the Champions League, let him prove it with his form for Newcastle United. And he more or less threw that challenge down to the rest of the so-called elite players who we could possibly lose if we don't qualify for Champions League again.
All right. Well, I mean, when we look at the Brentford game, and we, because that's why these games against in the Champions League, as crazy as it sounds now, they've turned out not to be irrelevant, but when it comes to the next game, they are irrelevant. In a sense that it doesn't even give you anything positive, in my opinion. Like, you don't get this jump start from these great midweek games, because over and over and over and over, we bottled it on the weekend for some reason or another. So it has become, unfortunately, for everybody's sake, and to be with 2 weeks, really, a week and a half, really, without football, it has become a must-win game against Brentford, and I think it's a must-win, not even a draw or anything like that. And it started. That's all the ingredients of it becoming toxic, because it's a must-win. You gotta win, or else you gotta win. You gotta win. You gotta win. How you can't? It's weird, but you can't live like that. Like, it's like with the Postecoglou situation, if he loses on the weekend, well, what if he wins it? Then the next one will become if he loses it on the weekend again, and if he loses, but at some point you're gonna lose. But it becomes toxic, it becomes toxic, and I mean, it's not gonna be easy going to Brentford, by the way. So
not at all.
It's a bad situation to be in, to be honest.
I mean, it is, but it's like I said, you've got to start asking the question of why are we sticking with the same old tested? If it's not happening, if it's not working, why isn't he not changing it up a little bit?
Well, we haven't been, though. I mean, you think about it. We played Spurs with 8 changes, then 8 changes back on the weekend, and we lost still. 8 changes. That's
but he's reverted from the 8 changes back to the tried and tested. That's what I'm saying, and it's not changed. You had a great performance with the 8 changes against Tottenham, which was a strong side, by the way.
But you're gonna have to play Tonali. That's number one. He didn't play.
Absolutely. If he's fit, then you play. That's what I said. You play your strongest players. But what I'm saying is, if the Craig Hope journal, and to be fair, there is some, I suppose, strength to his criticism. Voltemade coming into our side has created a hollow up top, And what we're not doing, and again, it's about congestion in the middle of the park. Why aren't we utilising our wider players? And we've seen it on the right-hand side when you've got Murphy. We've seen Harvey Barnes do it, playing in the inside right position, and it's worked. It's worked really well. What Eddie Howe needs to do is do exactly the same situation and bring your left into the inside left position rather than staying out on the side. And the problem is with Anthony Gordon, he's fixated with a touchline. He doesn't want to work away from that touchline until he's got ball at his feet. Then he runs inside. And sometimes that takes no pressure on the defence, and it takes the pressure away from the defence. And that, if you look, a lot of our attacking or the opposition defence have had a really luxurious time. We've had no pressure on them. We're not high up the field because we haven't got the pace with Baltimore to press high. So we've sat off and done a half press and triggered on a moment. But even that, we find ourselves way off where the intensity used to be.
Surprisingly enough, I'm trying to look at the line just to verify. Yes, Gordon didn't even play against Spurs, did he? Or he did, but he came in, I think, as a sub.
Sub he was.
I'm trying to remember what game it was that he actually was doing. I think it was maybe after the England games. I'm not sure. But he was not predictable. He was cutting inside. He was doing all that. He had a good game, but then he stopped doing it. So, but I don't think he's going to play anyway. I would assume he's not going to play in the weekend, but still a lot of days left.
He said he wasn't.
But he's going with England, so
I don't think it's serious. We're going to get a scan, wait for the results, but there's a good chance that he misses out on Sunday.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mercury. Morning, lads. Great early show by Corey yesterday. Thanks, Mercury.
Absolutely. Good morning, mate. Thank you very much for that.
Corey, Monday to Friday with Sam on the Breakfast Show. Early in the morning, ladies and gents. Wakey, eggs and bakey with with Corey and Sam.
I missed my intro music this morning, mate.
It's good stuff, isn't it? Good stuff, man. But is Joe Linton going to play? You got to give other players a chance. Ramsey, maybe that's something that we keep talking about.
Bruno going to play?
Why wouldn't he?
Well, he felt like he was playing with a 10-kilo weight on his back on Wednesday.
Well, I mean, if he's not ready. But I would assume he'll be better by then. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, let's hope so. He said that apart from him having a cough, he hadn't heard anybody else coughing.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I'm going to continue with my conviction as far as much as and again, I kind of came out already on the show and said that I admit that I might be wrong with the Elanga signing. I had to look in the mirror about that, but it's still, jury's still out. However, I'm going to maintain my convictions. I don't see that the team is creating enough to say that Walter Mata is the problem for this team, and I just don't see that at all.
But I haven't heard anybody say Walter Mata is the problem.
Well, Gary was saying that he created a hollow point or a hole there. I don't even think that either. I just think that the team doesn't create enough for him. Therefore, his the way he plays is, if the ball doesn't come to me, I'm going to get the ball. And unfortunately, you see that when the team is not playing good, the center forward comes down and looks for it. Now, another center forward, like Mateta, for example, he'll just stay up there and wait for it to come and grow roots, like a potato, just standing up there. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? So I still go with Walter Mata, at least trying to be proactive and trying to create play. And of course, just like anybody, if Haaland had to come down deep to get the ball, none of them will have the pace to go get up there again, because it's like a left back going back and forth. So
you don't think Haaland got the pace to get in behind once he comes deep? You don't think?
No.
If do you not watch many of his games then?
No, but I do actually. But if Haaland had to do that the whole game, he'll be knackered by before the first half is over.
But that's what I'm saying. You're not. But that's what I said. It's not about moving your centre forward into midfield. It's about players running in behind. Man City build up totally differently to Newcastle's high intensity. So it's chalk and cheese what you're talking about there.
Haaland doesn't have to come down. That's what I'm saying, because the team created for him.
Exactly. We haven't got the creative players.
So that's the problem. The team is not creating for Voltemada. Voltemada is not the problem. That's what I'm saying.
But Voltemada's creating what I'm saying is creating a problem because he's coming to get involved in the game. What we need, I said, it's not Voltemada individually that's the problem. It's a team problem because Eddie Howe has to find a solution to create movement beyond Voltemada. Because if you don't do that, there's a hollow.
If both wingers were actually created and throwing them the ball and passing them the ball, he wouldn't have to come down. If the midfielders weren't so deep, we wouldn't have that problem. Maybe Ramsey, it could be the solution to bring the ball up to him, to carry the ball forward, kind of what everybody hoped Willock would do. And I remember that game when Willock came on, I think it was the Spurs, actually. Everybody had a great game. Everybody had a great game. Nobody complained. And I think Ramsey and Willock played together, which, I mean, that's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think. But
that's what I'm saying. If you have a look at Willock, where Willock played, he played alongside Voltemada. They played a 4-4-2 system. And that's what I said. It's a fluid 4-4-2 where you've got somebody moving in and alongside Voltemada. So when he drops deep, he goes tall.
And for example, with Isak, you know, if you have Isak come in to come down to the midfield to get the ball, he will never get up there. He's faster than Voltemada, of course, but if he had to do that all game, trust me, he'll be knackered. So this we need a proper center forward. I've been hearing since Isak, and he scored 20 plus goals, and he was important, and he won us the cup as well alongside many others. So this proper center forward talk, that's the thing of the past.
I would rather have 5 players scoring 10 goals than 1 player scoring 25.
Well, it's worked for Newcastle, right?
Yeah, but now he ain't got him. So what that's the problem, isn't it?
No.
Exactly
again, it's not that we created for Isak. We are not creating for Voltemada.
No, it's a different style of play. It's a different style of play.
How many chances have we created for Voltemada that he's not been up there, that he's been missing, that he hasn't had the pace to get up there? How many? Nobody can answer that. Everybody
because he's not up there.
Well, there was one. There was one Wednesday that he didn't get to.
For a start, there was one.
There was one.
I ain't going to go back and look until when he's come in, but I can guarantee you there'll be a few there.
There's one that I said that I can with the highlights when I was making them.
I'll tell you what was one good thing. Today, a journalist had a bottle to ask him a hard question. And that question was, if Lewis Hall is fit, do you agree he automatically comes back in and left back? And if he does, where do you play? What happens to Dan Burn? And he kind of skirted round. He says, when Lewis Hall is fit, he will be left back. And it's a lovely position to be in, to have 4 centre-halves and competition, because competition is good. It makes players perform better. So I thought that was I couldn't even tell who it was asking the question, but I thought that was a great question. And that's the one that everybody's skirting round. When Lewis Hall is fit, what do you do with Dan Burn and the rest of the centre back?
Chris having a soundboard is criminal work, mate.
Be careful, Corey, because your voice will be clipped, mate. We've got Tim now on the board.
I love Tim's, mate. That's probably my favourite.
Yeah.
That's poor. That's really poor from him.
Yeah, that's win right there. Every time anything Win says, that's really poor, man. And even and more or less.
I mean, that was shambolic.
Come on, man. Let me see here in the chat and see what we got left here. But it's gonna be a see here again. You keep thinking like that. Elanga had balls into the box and no one there to finish. He could have had 4 assists. What balls? 2 of those I remember. 2, not 4, but 2 of those with.
You say what you want to say, man.
No. Well, tell me the 4. Tell me the 4, Mr. Big Shot. Tell me the 4. Tell me the 4 assists that he could have had. So you ain't got a clue. So don't argue with me if you ain't got a clue about them. I know 2 of those that Gordon was playing center forward against Barcelona to push the ball in and nobody scored it.
Well,
There you go.
I can't say the exact one, but I can remember he hit the post from 3 yards. He missed the header. He missed another header in one of the league games.
So is he there to miss, or is he not there to miss?
And,
is he there in the box?
The problem, as we all know.
So now you're saying he's not a good finisher?
No. As we all know, he had 5 shots on target, 5 goals at the very start of this when he first came into the side.
He doesn't score for the next 2, and he's become rubbish. That's the inconsistency.
Nobody's saying he's become rubbish.
So in the first game,
what I'm saying is he isn't getting into those positions.
When you said he was 5 out of 5, nobody complained about his finishing. Nobody complained about him not being in the box or him dropping too deep. Nobody said that. 2 games, 3 games, he doesn't score because the team is rubbish, and then he becomes the problem. That's my issue.
Who's saying he's become the problem?
Well, you say we need another striker. I think that's pretty much saying it. If we just got a striker in like Walter, and you're saying that we need another striker, I think that pretty much sums it up. But
I think you've also got to take. I think you're not taking the whole picture into account here. Nobody's saying when Voltemade come into the Premier League, he took a lot of the Premier League teams by surprise. Now people have the chance to see and analyse him. This is opposition coaches. As you saw the other day, it was like WWE against Voltemade. 2 centre halves on his back, pulling him around. Yeah. Now Eddie Howe knows that Voltemade is going to be closely contested because opposition coaches know in front of goal he can score goals. So they're going to limit the opportunity. What Eddie Howe now has to do is find a solution to create other opportunities around him to take the pressure away from Voltemade. Because what you'll see now going forward, Chris, is Voltemade gets limited chances, and we have to find the solution to create around him. I think that's what we get into, not Voltemade as the problem.
Right. So if we can all agree that Walter needs to play day in and day out, then we don't have nothing to talk about. Because nobody,
not in the 6-yard box.
No. Why not?
Or he plays.
Why weren't you saying this with Isaac? Why weren't you saying it? Why wasn't everybody?
I was saying it with Isaac.
But what's the problem?
How many rows did me and you have about Isaac?
And how did Isaac turn out? How did Isaac turn out?
He got 25 goals because we
created
our whole attacking philosophy was based on feeding Isaac.
So now we got to do the same with
Walter. 25 goals and nobody else got any goals.
Now we got to do the same thing with Walter and problem solved. You see how easy that is? Very easy.
It's not because he's a different player than Isaac.
Nah, pretty much similar, man. Just got to feed him the ball. Feed him the ball. We never know. He might be a flop. He might be the worst signing we ever made. But feed him the ball and we'll see. Well, we don't know that. He could be. I'm changing my mind. I'm changing my mind on Ilanga now, and I'm seeing the light. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I'm seeing the light. Anyways, lads, we had a good press conference. It gets animated every now and then here on NUFC Talk. It got different opinions, of course. So Friday Night Show, 8 p.m. UK. Join us for some banter, music, good hilarity. And not talking about
the name of the day.
There you go. Smash the like button and
subscribe.
I'm so hungry, man. It's great. It's insane right now. But I gotta lose weight though. If I want to go to Newcastle, I gotta lose weight. I'm working on it. If I stand like this, I feel like I lose weight. And then other than that, I'm knackered. But anyways, folks, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a good show. Eddie Howe press conference every time. When he's live, we're live. Highway the lads. We'll see you on the next one, okay? Take care.
Away the lads.
Lasses and bands.